Welcome back to Beyond the Pump, where today we're going to break down not being dumb with your money. Stick with us as we break down how businesses have failed, who've been doing millions of dollars a year because they are just not smart, they're inept, and they thought that they were unstoppable. But here we are, and they no longer exist because they've changed the game yet again.
I think it's funny because when we think about the backdrop of everything, money's always in the background. You have to have enough money to pay yourself to survive, and I think understanding how that gets distributed as you hire more people, as you see money enter and leave your account, um, it really becomes a false signal as you start to make more of it. And it's kind of funny because I heard this saying, and I can't remember where I heard it. I wish I could credit it, but like money is fungible. You're trading a thing for a thing. And as I've gotten, a little more mature in my years, it really is that of if you look at it too close, you're going to be misled and misdirected, depending upon how you manage your financial situation. Most people would agree that having a lump sum payment that's not discounted is a safer transaction than having someone on a payment plan where maybe they don't pay for the second or third month. The problem being that most people will see the $5,000 come in and then they will say, oh, good, this is my $5,000 to spend how I need to, versus paying themselves out as that service gets rendered. And so now you imagine that if you see that you have $5,000 and you have 10 clients and they haven't paid you in 6 months because obviously you signed them 6 months ago and it's a 12-month contract, you're like, oh man, I'm so busy. Let me go hire somebody. That's a poor financial decision.
Yeah.
You already spent the money. So now how are you going to pay the person to come in after you? And that's the cautionary tale that I think a lot of immature business owners really don't learn until it's too late and they touch the stove and now they owe people money, or like a salesperson 50K and this person's been really loyal for a very long time. So, like it's just, you put yourself between a rock and a hard place if you don't evolve how you perceive money as you gain maturity as a business owner. So I think that really grounds my perspective in this episode of obviously like know your numbers, and like that translates to a lot of different numbers.
Yeah, and it gets deep and like wide really quick with numbers, and I love the numbers of the business. We know that that's my strength of this side of the house. But in accounting side of the house, real quick, so there's two common ways that you do accounting. One is called cash basis accounting, and one is called accrual basis accounting. This talks not about those per se, but it's kind of the prereq to some of this conversation. Cash basis accounting is what most smaller businesses, entrepreneurs operate their business on. And you register your cash movement in your business and out of your business on the time and on the date that it happens. So in the month of February, this money came in, this money came out, and that's just cash basis accounting. What happens? So to your point, let's say you acquire 10 clients this month and all of them pay you for 6 months of coaching, and they all pay you $6,000 a piece in full because that's what you offered, and it's just easy math of $1,000 a month. So now you made, okay, on my 10 clients, 6K a piece, that's 60 grand this month that I made. Cash basis accounting says you're 100% right. Like you're absolutely correct. Accrual basis accounting, here's the other side of it, would actually turn around and say, okay, well, you sold 6 months of services. You sold it for 6K a piece to 10 people. So in the month, it would actually show up as in like actual earned income, earned revenue would be 1/6 or 1,000 of the 6,000 for each of your new clients. And then there would be a debt of unearned revenue of 5,000. So those 5 months remaining for everybody else. So accrual basis accounting would actually say you made revenue, true earned revenue of 10 grand, and then you have unearned revenue of 50 grand sitting in your bank account, so to speak, in that scenario. Cash basis says you made 60 grand. When most people, like we see the screenshots online, oh, my client made and whatever, it's how much revenue they generated that month. If I go out, and this will be an extreme example because it'll prove the point better than like the 3-month or the 6-month scenario. If I sell you something and I commit to help you for the next 10 years and I sell it to you for 100 grand, is that a good or a bad deal? Like I got 100 grand today, like that kind of feels good today. But at the same point, like when you really break it down, that's $880 $83 a month or $867 a month, whatever the numbers are. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do I, for 10 years, I'm committed to that? Like, that's a long ass commitment. Do I really want to sell this thing? When it's 3 months, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, your 60-day pack, whatever the thing is, we don't think of those things. And then the money is sitting in our bank account and we're not disciplined, but we're also not taught to not spend that money when there's future services that have to be delivered, which is my pet peeve. Because, I mean, Frank, spade to spade here. It is not the sexy thing in business. The numbers are not the sexy, fun thing. Going out and getting more leads, being better at sales, closing more deals, throwing your cash around and throwing pictures of your private jet up is way sexier. Like, just going to be honest.
I think the sexy thing is to make other people feel dumber because you're a better coach than them.
That too. That too. But like when we look at the wealthiest people in the world, like the Zuckerbergs and stuff like that, when they made their first million, 5 million, 10 million, how many private jet photos did we see? How many crazy, chaotic things did we see? Or were they busy just stacking cash on the back end so they had such a behemoth that they could then go out and buy the $4 billion yacht that cost them $1.8 million a month to run? Like, literally, think about that. The big names that we see out there, they're not out there in front of all of their, and I'm not talking like Grant Cardone thing. Like, trust me, Grant Cardone done well, right? Like, don't get me wrong. This isn't a Tony Robbins. Actually, he's not even one of the guys. He's pushing billions. So like, I'll pull him off this list. But it's not the people that are doing 10 million, 50 million, 100 million that they're showing off with the thing. It's everybody else bigger than them. They're not out there showing off the thing, and that's because they understand how cash works. Take Elon Musk, the billions of dollars that he's worth, the amount of cash that he actually has, like his bank account balances, are probably a few $1,000,000 at best because he understands how it works. And that's where, as coaches, a lot of times we get ran into the ground because I sell, I don't save, I spend, and now I have to acquire more, but I'm too busy to do the things that helped me sell in the beginning. So I don't have the time. I hate my life and I'm not acquiring because now I get desperate and then I run out of business and forget this coaching thing. Meanwhile, like, dude, you just sold like 10 grand a month. Like you literally just entered yourself in that scenario to $120,000 a year job with only 10 people to service. Like, fuck. Don't fuck that up. Don't fuck that up. Happens all the time.
Well, and I think that there's something to be said around, and I'm just thinking about this one particular person, and I hope they're listening. Their name was Melina. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. And this individual was engaged in high ticket business coaching, and I think they had their first 10K month. And naturally, a handful of PIFs. I think it was like 3 or 4 people gave her $3,000, right? And so she's like, "Oh, I'm paid." And then on the back end of that, Melina, she took a trip to Greece. She spent like $8,000. And so then going into the next month, she couldn't pay her assistant and she couldn't pay her bills, from what I vaguely recall. Right. And I don't remember the true, consequences there, but I do remember that about 3 or 4 months in, she couldn't pay her tuition for the program any longer. And then she went back in and like disputed the charges and a whole bunch of other stuff, saying she never got what she wanted. But in reality, it really was just poor financial discipline. The sharper people will leverage debt intelligently, meaning like they'll make that 10 grand and they'll reinvest it in something that's going to help them make more money. The idiots will buy more liabilities and like, oh, I did this. Let me go buy a new car with the money that's now in my account and, spend $8,000 on a down payment. Now, next month I'm only going to I have to start over because I've already spent all that money. People going in equipped with a different way of looking at their financials, i.e. gap count, accrual based accounting. I think that that's really important as people start to have more cash flow, as they start to sell more PIFs, as they have an increased expense line in COGS, which, we'll talk about that in a different episode. So make sure you subscribe and turn your alarm on so that we can stay up to date and you don't end up bankrupt and having to get out of an industry that you love and a passion that you were pursuing because you sucked at managing your books and doing the boring stuff where everyone's like, oh, I hate the boring shit. Well, the boring shit's the stuff that's probably going to help you grow long-term, frankly. So, anyways, my thoughts.
There's all these sayings like cash flow is king and just all that stuff. And they all mean something valuable. Like, don't get me wrong, that there's stuff there. At the end of the day, you need to know how much money your business costs every single month to run. how much money you need to get paid. You reverse engineer that with how much time you have, and then figure out your pricing. And then from there, sell people things. I believe a really healthy business is a mixture of paid in fulls and recurring revenue. Now, mathematically speaking, in the beginning of a relationship, paid in fulls are going to be better for your business because you know exactly how much that person is paying. But if they're renewing, they're on their third package or third re up, and you can start collecting monthly from them, that's not a bad spot to be in because it also helps you kind of manage your own money. There's usually a reason that you can then charge a little bit more and make more money over the course of the year. You can add a every 28-day billing cycle, which gives you that 13th billing cycle per year. Like there's a lot of things you can do there to help, but it just comes down to economics of it. If everybody pays more when they pay monthly over the same period of time of paying in full, you technically want everybody to pay monthly technically, but you can't control that. So you need to understand your numbers. So again, the business guru, like, oh, you must only do paid in fulls. Like paid in fulls are good. But if somebody's re-upping with you, I might suggest you actually switch over to recurring just because you now have a relationship. They're likely to stay longer and continue paying you. And you can usually charge a little bit more. So, and if you get a blend of that in your business, all of your monthly billing, you can spend all of that on your business and then take the rest out for yourself and use that. The management of cash really has to come into play when people are paying in full for a bunch of services in advance. Now, straight line math, like there's going to be somebody who understands math a little bit better. Let's say technically your business has 50% margins, right? 50% goes towards expenses, 50% is the money you make. So for every $1,000 that you get in, $500 is yours to keep. If you know your math well, you understand your P&L, you understand your books, you can technically go, all right, somebody paid 6 months. They paid me $6,000, $1,000 a month for 6 months in advance. Half of that has to go to support the expenses of the business. I'm going to put that in my business operations account. That's my checking account. That's where everything goes. And that's staying there. I'm never touching it. The other half from my acquisition kind of account is going to go into my savings account or whatever for the business. And that's the money that I pay myself whenever I want to pay it. You do know, provided you have history in your business and your margins, you understand it, that not 100% of what you collect is actually going to go towards the expenses of servicing that person. But again, that comes at understanding your books, which most of us don't do a great job of understanding those pieces. We talked in our last episode about like COGS and all of those components. We're not going to dive deep there, but if you understand the details of your business, you now can start to understand how to manage things. The last piece of this in the management of cash comes down to like paying taxes. We're not going to talk about that today, but taxes are 20, 25, 30, 35% of your income. And yes, S Corp, C Corp, LLCs, elections, like your accountants, all that stuff matters. But ask them the question, hey, for every dollar that I bring into my business, how much should I set aside to pay for taxes? Because you don't want to have to worry about that tax bill in April and like not have saved up for it. I'm not saying you need to save up 100% for it, but like you should have something there to be able to make that hit a little bit better, unless you're paying quarterly or again, there's a lot of things, and talk to your financial advisor account for that stuff. But there are things that I would say to do. So again, sample here or scenario 50-50, 50% profit, etc. You get $6,000 in, put $3,000 in your operating account, never touch that. That's only for business expenses. $3,000 in your to you account, and then pay yourself when you need to. Doesn't just mean pay yourself $3,000, but just pay yourself when you need to. And that's a really easy way to delineate what money I can touch and what money I can't touch.
I will say this. Your tolerance for risk and volatility should dictate how you then potentially look at your books. If you have a highly volatile market, or maybe your consumer or your target demographic or your ideal client, whatever, if they traditionally may be in the lower tax brackets, right? Maybe they don't make as much money and they say, hey, I got my tax refund. Let me pay you. You take the PIF. If you don't expect that they're going to honor the remainder of their payments, better to have cash in hand. And, like if your own expenses are volatile, like again, I would probably suggest maybe like parsing it out a little bit and creating more stability, but everything's always status quo. Like if you have a highly volatile personal life, maybe you need more economic stability, which is what people inherently are drawn to salaries for, because they're like, oh, I want a predictable income. All right. People that are in a hyper phase of growth, maybe that, they're looking for different items. But again, like I like it. I look at it as like a volatility level then dictates kind of the other things. If your cash expenses are going to go up and down all the time, like, you want some predictable income. If you don't have that, then maybe you can allocate to have a little bit more of a, volatile type of financial situation where you're like, I'm willing to take the piff up front because I know that, the business growth is going to be pretty steady. So all that to say, like, know yourself. And I think that's really where entrepreneurship is one of those biggest self development grounds, because you will learn how you deal with stress and how you deal with, making decisions under less than ideal scenarios and circumstances. So don't shy away from that. But if you don't know what to do with your financials, like, go hire a professional. We're not obviously CPAs here. We're not tax consultants. One of us has had what, like 47 different fitness franchises at this point, or has a hand in the financials, and the other one of us is just a people operator that's just like, all right, here you go. Here's HR. Like, don't get sued, and here's how to train your people and be good to them so they want to stick around. So pick your poison, and the answer might surprise you on who is who.
Anyways, we appreciate you hopping on today. Hopefully that made some sense. Just honestly pay attention. It's something that is so minuscule, and if you catch it early, it's easy. If you catch it too late, like, it's a big hole, and it's just, we've seen too many businesses die from literally nearly $10 million businesses a year to the $100,000 businesses a year. Like, people doing 250 grand a year have lost their business because they couldn't manage their cash. Just pay attention to that stuff. It's important, and these little things are the stuff that more people need to talk about and teach you, so that way you don't lose your business. So
Mm-hmm.
we appreciate you hopping on, listening to Beyond the Pump, where we talk about the business of fitness and nutrition. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel. Like this episode, throw a comment there for us. Please reach out to us online, social media, Instagram, either of our personal handle socials, or to official Beyond the Pump, HCSA, HICSA. And we will talk to you guys later.